Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be something a little bit different. This is a business related kind of video. I'm always seeing questions on different kind of genealogy groups and other sorts of business groups asking how do you calculate an hourly rate. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to share it because a lot of people are interested in it. So this isn't only going to apply to genealogy businesses. This could apply to any kind of business. So stay tuned if you have your own business and you know, it doesn't have to be genealogy. Okay, so to start with, I'll say I'm currently running two small businesses myself. One of them is my genealogy business, Kindred Genealogy. The other one is a jewelry business called Goldfolk, and I use the same formula to calculate my hourly rate for both of them, and my hourly rate is different for each of them. So okay, so I'm going to go through this step by step so you can calculate what would be best for you. So the very first thing that you need to consider is what is your salary requirement. So your hourly rate isn't just what you want to be paid for yourself. Your salary is part of your hourly rate. So the first thing to do is identify what kind of salary do you need. This is going to be different for everybody, of course. This is going to take into account your personal living expenses, you know, what salary you need to live on for yourself. So you'll want to make this an annual kind of calculation. So if you know your weekly amount, then multiply it by 52 to get a year or whatever. Or if you know your annual salary that you want, that's that. So you'll want a figure for what you want to earn in 1 year. Okay, your second step is to determine your costs. So these are going to be anything that is going to cost for you to run your business. That could include things like office expenses, things that, you know, for your education. So it might be doing courses or things to keep your you know, your qualifications up, or your, you know, knowledge in the field, or whatever you could possibly need. It could be like tools. So for example, in my jewelry making business, I you know, there's certain tools that I use, or, you know, in genealogy it might be a website. This is all sounding very broad, but you need to try to think of absolutely everything. So like I said, I have websites for both of my businesses. They cost money. The domain name costs money, the hosting costs money. So you're going to tally all these out, what it's going to cost for a year. You're going to also factor in if you use your computer. So you may be not using the computer just for work things. You might sort of say I use it 50-50 for work and personal, so half of it would be work. Factor in how much you would need per year for a computer. So if your computer is going to last you for 5 years, divide it by 5. Your phone, if you're using your phone for it, could be particular software that you're using. It could be subscriptions to websites. So for example, in genealogy, I have subscriptions to genealogy databases. Those are probably most of the online kind of costs. But then you've also got to consider things like business cards, letterheads, you know, paper, ink, printer, other kind of office supplies, and like utilities, rent. So if you're renting your office space, or if you're a home business, it might just be a portion of your rent or whatever. Your car, if you use your car for business use, so you might need to consider petrol costs or maintenance of your car. Memberships of different organizations, they might be professional organizations or things like that. Conferences that you might want to go to, courses. I think I'm covering most of it here. Insurance, if you're going to have, I mean, you should have insurance, but it depends on the size of your business and whatever. Also factor in marketing costs. So that could be like advertising. It might be like social media ads, or it could be sort of hard things like flyers or things like that. Business cards, I think I might have already said that. Pens, stationery. Is that about it? I feel like I'm all over the place, but you know what I mean. So you've got to sit down and write down everything that you're going to need to run your business. This isn't just like materials. So for example, in my jewelry making, if I buy supplies to make pieces of jewelry, I don't factor that in. I just factor in the tools that I'm repeatedly using. So with, for example, the jewelry business, the things that I like, if I buy, for example, beads or string or leather or something to make jewelry with, that just literally is in the price for the item. So I don't factor that into my big annual kind of cost. So all of those costs that you add up, they have to be for 1 year. So, you know, if you buy a 2-year subscription to some website or something, then divide it by 2 so that you know that it's just a 1 year. So you're going to tally up all of those costs as well. Got it? Are we keeping up? Okay, the third thing is you are going to need a profit margin. So yes, your business needs to make a profit. So you have to determine how big a profit margin you're going to try to make. So usually I think most businesses, to start with, it's between 10 and 20% you're aiming for. If you want to keep your costs down, you might aim towards the 10%. If you're cool with charging more, then aim for the 20%. But yes, you're going to want to add a profit in there. So decide how big of a profit you're going to try to make, just a percentage, and tack that on. That's step number 3. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is determine your billable hours. That is how many hours per week you're going to be working. And that's client work, not sort of side work that you're just sort of doing for your business on your own, like admin work or something, but work for actual customers. So when you've got that billable hours, you want to tally it up so that you know across a whole year. So just a little tip with the billable hours. When I do this, I also remember to factor in if I'm going to be having like holidays or anything like that. So, you know, you might say, I want to work however many hours a week. Don't just multiply that by 52 weeks in a year if you don't want to work 52 weeks a year. If you want to have however many weeks off, remember to take those weeks off. Or also maybe consider things like sick days and things like that. You can add money into your costs section. So when I talked about all the costs, you could add some money in there that you want to be like holiday pay or sick pay or whatever, if you want to sort of balance it out. But yeah, so when you decide your billable hours, that's the next step. Okay, so once you've got all of those figures written down and you know where you're at, what you're going to do is a little formula now, and that's going to determine your hourly rate. So what you're going to do is you're going to add together your salary plus your expenses plus your profit. Those 3 added together is your targeted income. That's what it's kind of called. All right, so add all 3 together and you've got your targeted income. Then your targeted income needs to be divided by your number of billable hours. So you'll divide that, targeted income divided by billable hours, billable hours. So yeah, your targeted income divided by your billable hours is going to give you your hourly rate. So once you divide that up and you get your hourly rate, so you might look at it and go, oh my God, that's like too much, or it's so low, or whatever. It might, I don't know. Like when I first did it, I thought, gee, that looks high. And that's, I think, because I'd worked in sort of a regular sort of wage job for a long time, and I'd maybe earned $20 an hour or something like that. And I thought, wow, like this is so much more than that. But remember, when you used to work in a salary job, the business is taking all those other things into account. So you're not taking them into account because you're just a little worker bee. But the business would have been charging clients more because they would have had to cover all those costs. So now you have to cover those costs. So don't look at that figure and go, I can't charge people that. I'm just going to have to, you know, charge them a bit less. That's like the mistake that I made the first time that I set up my genealogy business. So like I've said in another video, this is take 2. So yeah, don't look at the figure and get scared and then just reduce it because you're scared. Because the truth is, if you want your business to succeed, you're going to have to be able to charge that amount. If you need to cover your costs, and if you can't cover those costs, you're going to start going backwards. The only thing that you can play around with a little bit is your profit margin. So you could decide to lower that just a little, but remember, you still do need to make a profit. So don't go lower than 10%. You could look at cutting some of your costs if there is anywhere that you can cut down on costs. And third, you could reduce your salary, but obviously only if you can. Like once you decide what salary you need, that's the salary you need. So yeah, once you've got that formula done, don't go chopping it down lower thinking that you need to undercut other people or whatever, because if your business is going to be viable, it needs to be able to sustain that amount. And if you can't charge that amount, then your business was never going to succeed anyway, because yeah, you can't just sort of pull a number out of the air. I think that was a problem that a lot of people do. A lot of people look at other businesses and they go, well, they charge this, so I guess I should charge this. And it's like, no, but you know, they figured out their costs and that's how they're doing it. And you have to figure out your costs. So yeah. So I'll just tack on one little extra thing. So the billable hours for my genealogy business, that's how I would charge a client. I would just charge them my hourly rate. And then the only thing that I would tack on to that is if I have to spend any money for them, for example, if I'm purchasing certificates or, you know, records, things like that, actual sort of hard expenses, I'll charge them on top of my hourly rate. But so for my jewelry business, I have my hourly rate, and then what I'm actually charging them is materials, so the actual physical materials that go into that piece of jewelry. Then the hourly rate will be divided up by sort of how long I spend making it. So, you know, for example, if I spend 15 minutes making something, then I would cut my hourly rate down sort of to the 15-minute mark. And so this is just with the jewelry. So yeah, I have my materials, I have my labor fee, which is my hourly rate. And then of course I have my postage costs because I'm often mailing the items. So I don't factor the postage costs into my overall sort of budget. Sorry. I think you could, like, some people might do it that way, but I've currently been sort of just doing it per piece. If I start turning over more, then I may consider doing that. So yeah, I guess that's the difference between if you're selling physical items or if you're doing a service, so like a goods or a service version. But either way, you can kind of figure out your hourly rate using the same kind of formula. So play around with it and good luck. I hope this video all made sense, but feel free to ask any questions or leave any comments in the description below. I am not a business expert, by the way, so if I've made any mistakes, you can let me know too, but this has been working for me so far. And I think that, it's widely applicable to virtually any kind of business. So, let me know your thoughts. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know. I've done another one about starting a genealogy business. I will link that above, so if you want to check it out. But yeah, if you'd like to see more business related kind of content, I'm happy to do that. Like I said, I'm not a business expert, but hopefully you still found it helpful. All right guys, that is it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye.